Bonjour, and thank you for listening. I'm Jeff Davis, and our travels today on the wine road will cross the U.S., over the Atlantic, and into France. Allons-y.
Good work on the wines, good aging on barrels, very precise specification to the chef de cave to work only on the finesse.
We own the vineyard, so we work from the vine to the bottle, and such a quality can only be made by respecting all the details of the vine growing and winemaking.
Sure.
It's possible, once again, because we control all of this.
Nearly every week I hear from PR firms who have a client they think may be a good fit for my radio show and podcast. Sometimes they are, sometimes not so much. When I heard from IT Public Relations in New York about Champagne Pommery and their fairly new brand, Louis Pommery, it caught my eye because they are now making sparkling wine with California grapes. Once I interviewed their chef de cave, Clément Pierlot, about the champagne and sparkling, Janet at IT PR sent me a request to interview Bruno Maillard, who makes rosé in the Languedoc region and Provence, the world's foremost setting for rosé. Both are featured in today's podcast. These interviews were conducted over the telephone, but I think you'll be able to discern what they're saying through their French accents fairly well. Champagne Pommery and the Vranken-Pommery group, originally Pommery and Grenault, has a long history in the Champagne region and one whose success is attributed to a woman, Madame Pommery, who took over after her husband's death in 1858. It was her determination to make the most elegant champagne that led to the creation of Brut champagne in 1874. Nearly a century and a half later, Champagne Pommery created Louis Pommery sparkling wine. That's enough from me. Now I'll bring in Clément Pierlot on the line to fill in more of the details. Bonsoir, Clément.
Bonsoir.
This is Jeff calling.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not so bad. Not so bad. The end of the day.
I was going to say, what is it, 7 p.m. your time?
Yes, 7 p.m., yes.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your evening for me.
It's a pleasure.
First of all, let me congratulate you after the fact on becoming the fairly new chef de cave at Champagne Pommery's winemaking in England, the south of France, and California.
Thank you very much.
That was back in 2017 you became the chef de cave?
Yeah, I took over from Thierry Gasco in 2017 in July. So we did the 2016 harvest together, and we worked together since 2013.
And you've been with the company, Vranken-Pommery, since 2004.
Yeah, and 2004, yes, I was a young engineer, a young agronomist at this time, and I was in charge. I'm still in charge of the vineyard, so I was vineyard manager. That was my first position in Vranken-Pommery as vineyard manager.
Ah, great. And you have mentioned enologists. Explain to us the differences between a chef de cave and an enologist winemaker.
Enologist is in France a diploma, so most of the winemakers are enologists. Chef de cave is more a person in charge of a brand. That's he has to incarnate, he has to look at all the aspects regarding the brand. So from depending on the chef de cave, if the house has vineyard, from the vineyard, from the pruning until the final client customer, you have a kind of keeper of the temple.
That's a good one. Keeper of the temple.
I don't know if it's okay in English, but
no, that's good. That's great.
I'm good.
Boy, what a history though Pommery has there in Champagne region, going back to the mid-1800s, and then Alexander Louis Pommery died in 1858, and his wife, Madame Pommery, took over at that time and really transformed the business into one of the largest champagne houses in France during that era.
Yes, Madame Pommery really genius, and she changed. It was like a revolution in Champagne, to be honest, because a lot of people was thinking on changing the style of the champagne, because at this time, there were a lot of sugar in the wine, more than 150 grams per liter. It was very sweet, and a lot of people was thinking on changing the style, but she's the one achieving the goal, because it was not so easy. because if there was so much sugar in the wine, that was for one reason, because maybe there were something to hide at this time, maybe too much acidity, not enough ripeness, and not enough aging. So she had to work very hard on the wine, in the vineyard. So she bought a lot of vineyard at this time. She made new contract with the wine growers, purchasing the grapes not in the press center, but directly on the vine. So she took the risk of the harvest at the place of the wine grower. So it was really a new vision. The idea was quality. So harvesting more ripe, and above all more aging in the cellar. So she had to improve the aging in the barrels, because at this time there were only barrels, and in the bottles. So she had to build a lot of building. She built a magnificent estate at this stage. We always think it was to pay homage to the clients, the British clients, because the building is in a British style. But it was more to have enough space to improve the quality and to age. So building for aging in barrels and also in bottles. In the galleries, we have more than 18 kilometers of choky galleries. We can store more than 30 million of bottles. So that's quite the big estate.
I understand the caves are the result of back in the days of the Romans when they were mining for salt and chalk.
Yes, chalk, yes.
The remaining caves made for an ideal place to store wine, which the French took advantage of, and you call them galleries.
And they left these choke pits, and the genius of Madame Pommery was to connect all the choke pits with galleries, and to level all the choke pits at the same depth at 30 meters below Earth, to have exactly the same temperature all the year, around 10 degrees.
Wow. Backing up a bit, did you catch that he said they can store 30 million bottles in their chalk caves or galleries? That's astounding. Getting back to Madame Pommery's inspired changes in the vineyard with harvest and reducing the level of sugar in the champagne, the creation of Brut champagne is attributed to her.
Yes, she because as I told you, a lot of people was thinking on doing the Brut champagne, but she was the first to achieve the goal, because she put all the parameters in line. Better harvest with riper grapes, good work on the wines, good aging on barrels, very precise specification to the chef de cave, to work only on the finesse. It was the signature of Pommery at this time, and still now is really the work on the finesse on the wine. And above all, the aging on lees, because she understood that the aging on lees was so important to improve the roundness of the wine. And if you want to remove the sugar, you need a lot of finesse and a lot of roundness in the wine.
Yes, I love sparkling and still wine that is aged on the lees. Champagne Pommery is consistently striving for innovation, and one example is your predecessor, you mentioned briefly, Thierry Gascot. Is that close enough?
Yeah.
Created a revolutionary method called yeast encapsulation. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. It's not the method which is a revolution. It's more a lot of things. It's yes, the encapsulation of the yeast. The idea is to put the yeast in little bowls, to be simple. But the real innovation is to have put in the bowls the yeast we have selected in Pommery. In order to keep the style of the house, we have the innovation of the bowls, and also the good yeast we have selected in Pommery. So the idea with the bowl is to avoid a stage in the classical method, which is the riddling, the remuage, because you don't have dead yeast in the bottle, you have only the bowls. So you just have to return the bottles, and all the bowls are going in the neck, and you have just to disgorge the bottle. So with this method, you don't have any trouble in the bottle, because all the yeast are directly in the bowls.
So you're saying the yeast is in the shape of balls, so they're compact together in a rounded...
Really like beads, like little
Little beads, okay, yeah, like little balls, okay. Well, I don't think I've ever heard of that, and I'd like to see what that looks like. So you're saying with the beads or the balls in the neck of the bottle, there's no need for riddling, turning the bottle to slowly move the yeast into the neck.
We don't turn the bottle. You have only to put the neck down, and all the beads are going in the neck.
Wow.
And you just have to freeze the neck and to take all the beads, and you can disgorge.
Disgorge them, that way. Wow, that's interesting. I have never heard of that. If you've never seen a bottle of sparkling disgorged, it's quite a sight. Once the winemaker determines the now sparkling has been on the dead yeast, called the lees, long enough, they have to remove it. To do so, they freeze the neck of the bottle, which has been inverted to collect the lees in the neck of the bottle. They tilt it up, then they open it. The frozen plug shoots out under 75 to 90 pounds of pressure. Some sparkling wine, or champagne, also escapes, so at this point they add a little more wine with a predetermined amount of sugar or sugar solution, called the dosage, to reach the level of sweetness they prefer in the finished product. For a Brut version, it's usually about 1.2 to 1.7% sugar. Now, to remind you, bubbles, sparkling, made in Champagne is called Champagne because that is the region in which it is made. Sparkling wine in the U.S. and anywhere outside of Champagne is called sparkling wine.
Yes.
We have a habit of defaulting to the term champagne, but that's not accurate. So even though Louis Pommery is a French company, you made a sparkling wine here with California grapes.
Yeah, the project Louis Pommery is a kind of a new vision of the sparkling wine, and the idea is to pay homage to Louis Pommery, which was the founder of Pommery and Greno, but as you told, died only 2 years after the creation of the brand. So the idea was to use his name and to pay homage to the founder. And the Louis Pommery project is in 2 countries for now. Is in England, because we start quite at the same time in 2015. A project in Hampshire in the UK, so sparkling wine from Hampshire, and in California, yes.
Where do you source the grapes from here in California?
So in California, the idea is to make same philosophy we have on Brut Royal in Champagne. It's to have a lot of different sourcing, because we know in Champagne that the blend is very important. So we have to constitute reserve wines, of course. We have to find different sourcing to have a wide palette of aromas. So the idea was to source in different places in Carneros and Sonoma Valley, but we also looked at other terroirs, even in Lodi, because the idea was to find, above all, nice place for Chardonnay and to mix different terroirs, different climates. From very cool region, not very cool, but cool region like Sonoma, and maybe more hot region like Lodi.
Yeah, quite a bit of difference there in temperature.
Yes.
Yeah. I see that the Louis Pommery Brut Sparkling is about 95% Chardonnay and 5% Pinot Noir. Now, have you been over here yet to be part of this process? Do you make it here in Healdsburg? To be honest, we had a partner since 5 years. Yes, in Sonoma, and we just changed. So yes, it's made in Sonoma. Yes, not so far from Santa Rosa. I also had the pleasure to enjoy your Louis Pommery Brut Rosé Sparkling.
Yeah, it's very just released since maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks, so it will come in the store very soon.
Wonderful. So I was on the leading edge of getting to try it then, huh? So that's about 76% Chardonnay, 24% Pinot Noir, and very tasty wine. And I love the color.
Yes, what we can say, a delicate salmon pink color. Huh?
Yeah, kind of a salmon pinkish.
So the signature of Pommery in Champagne, of course, and in California now, it's to have very delicate pink color for 2 reasons. Because I think the color is very important in the tasting, because it has to represent the finesse of the wine. So we are looking for delicate colors to have this elegancy, and we have this color because we don't add so much red wine. It's a blend rosé, as you as you know.
Mm-hmm.
We are using very small quantity of red wine because we always want, it's the same philosophy in Champagne, we always want the Chardonnay to be the leader of the tasting, even on a rosé. So we want to keep the freshness, we want to keep the elegancy of the Chardonnay, but to have just little red berries, aromas, just to add some gourmandise, we say in French, to the elegant wine.
Mm-hmm. Well, I loved the flavor, and also I'm not a big fan of Blanc de Blanc because I don't get much flavor from them. However, I did enjoy your Champagne Pommery Blanc de Blanc. Aside from the expected green apple and citrus, I also noted an element of fresh bread on my palate.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
For the Blanc de Blanc, it's a very particular blend because it's my first release as a chef de cave, and as you know, I was vineyard manager in the company, so I'm very committed to environment, very committed to terroir, and I wanted to make a blend which means something in terms of terroir. So the idea in the Blanc de Blanc is a kind of meeting between 3 or 4 very important terroirs for Pommery, and especially what we call in Champagne the Montagne de Reims, which is very famous for their Pinot Noir, but some few people know that there are also very nice Chardonnay in this region. So the idea is to work mainly on Chardonnay from the Montagne de Reims on our Blanc de Blanc. That's why it's quite different from the other, and it's really a nice Blanc de Blanc for food pairing, if you like, to Japanese food or fish. So it's a very nice Blanc de Blanc to...
Yes.
Yeah.
And your Brut Royale, a classic expression of Pommery style, from what I understand, and that's equal parts of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. Yes.
The Brut Royale is the current vision, the modern vision of what Madame Pommery did in 1874. It's really what she had in mind to have the finesse above all, the freshness and the vivacity. It's really the expression of what we can do in Champagne as a perfect blend. So it's 40 crus, 40 villages, so very different place in Champagne with which we have a strong history. So that can be our vineyard, but that's also grapes we purchase to wine growers. But you have to know we have a strong history with our wine growers. Some wine growers are selling their grapes to Pommery since 3 or 4 generations. So we are working on the 3 varieties. So it's 1/3 of each variety.
Mm-hmm.
And we work a lot on the reserve wines. It's very important in Champagne, and it's very important on sparkling wine to have a strong collection of reserve wine. In the Brut Royale, you have minimum 30% of reserve wines, but not reserve wines only coming from the year before. It's reserve wine that can come from 7 different years, so that's very important. And we keep every year the best qualities in reserve wines because I think it's very important in the blend to have this kind of collection.
Absolutely. Well, I could talk to you for another hour easily, Clément, but is there anything else that I didn't think to ask that you'd like to share with us?
No, I'm very enthusiastic because I will be more in charge with Pommery California too. So I'm building a team in France for all the sparkling wines, and we are very enthusiastic with the Louis Pommery project in the UK and in California, and we are also launching at the same time a still white wine from Los Carneros. So 2 new products in California.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we appreciate you including us in your plans, and I will share with my listeners where they can find your wine at this point.
Yes.
In a moment here. So thank you again, Clément. I appreciate your time, and have a wonderful evening, and congratulations on your success so far.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Bye, Jeff.
Clément Pierlot from Champagne Pommery in Reims, France. You can learn more about their champagne and sparkling wine at Vranken-Pommery.com. Vranken-Pommery.com. Now we're going to talk about 2 Vranken products, French Rosé. And the best place to start that conversation is in Provence. You'll hear about Chateau La Gourdon's La Chapelle Gourdon and the Sable de Camargue Pink Flamingo Gris. As you'll learn, there is a purposeful reason they call that brand Pink Flamingo. PR was kind enough to send me these rosés, as well as the Pommery Sparkling and Champagne, and the rosés really hit the spot, especially during our 90-degree temperatures. So without further ado, here's my conversation with winemaker Bruno Maillard. I started off by saying, you sure get to work in some beautiful settings there in Provence.
Yeah, the place, one of the most beautiful office in the world,
Yeah.
especially when I come in the early morning. I'm lucky, for sure. Nice terroir to work in.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I want to start with the 2019 La Chapelle Gourdon Rosé I got to enjoy. And I see the history of La Gourdon viticulture and winemaking goes back to the 1st century with the Romans. They apparently knew a good location when they saw it.
Yeah, when they came to France, the Romans went along the Mediterranean Sea and they stopped on the best places to live and to grow vines. So they found this location when you have where you have water, fresh water, you have rivers, you have the hills, you have the beautiful place to grow crops and vines. So they settled all around the Mediterranean Sea, and especially on the most beautiful place for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they did certainly pick the right spots, because even today, centuries later, a lot of these wine regions across France and the Mediterranean are still in existence.
Yeah, you're right. They settled at the best locations for sure. They were for that they were clever, and after them the monks settled churches in the best places also. So everywhere in south of France where you have Romance, antiques, and churches, all around you have good places for the vines and winemaking. So it's a good idea to look after the churches and the Roman places to find the best location for wines. You're right.
Right. Yeah, I see the beautiful Chateau La Gourdon on the property has been selling wine following its renovation in 1850.
Yeah. It's a long history chateau in Provence for sure.
Is that where you work, out of that office, or do you have another location?
I work in 2 locations. I work in Chateau La Gourdon in Provence and also in Camargue, in Jarras Royal Estate, which is more west. So I work on the 2 locations, 2 different terroirs. It's really interesting to be able to produce wine on those 2 different regions and produce all rosé wine, but different shades, different families.
Well, there in Gourdon, tell me about the unique vineyard in that Provence region and the microclimates that make it such an ideal location to grow grapes for rosé wines.
Yeah, Chateau La Gourdon is settled in Pierrefeu du Var. La Gourdon, we are in Pierrefeu, which is called by the old people in Provence the Golden Triangle of Provence, because of its location close to the Mediterranean Sea, but not too close, not to have the wet climate, but to have the fresh air at night coming from the sea. You have a complex and rich soil with limestone and clay on a part, with shale on the other part, coming from the more mountains. And all this combination of different type of soil, different exposure, different altitudes make a wonderful mosaic of terroir that creates the complexity of the wine of Chateau La Gourdon.
Mm-hmm. And not too cool in the wintertime, but certainly quite warm in the summer, huh?
Yeah, it's a perfect place to grow vines, vegetables, or fruits or flowers. And around Pierrefeu, you have a lot of chateau estates, but also you have flowers and roses that are produced there, and also vegetables. So it's a nice place with the cool climate, but not too cool. So you have the Mediterranean Sea that stabilizes the temperature and makes it not too hot and not too cool. So it's a perfect climate to grow vines.
Just right. Well, for the 2019 La Chapelle Gourdon Rosé, I saw mention of Grenache, Syrah, and either Mourvedre or Cinsault. Which one of those other varieties is with the current vintage?
Yeah, The blend is based on Grenache, as all our rosé wine.
Mm-hmm.
We are lucky to have reached 20% of Shiraz in the vineyard of Languedoc, so you have this in La Chapelle. And then Cinsault, a bit Mourvèdre, so on the dry vintages and hot, like last year, Mourvèdre did good wines, so we introduced in La Chapelle. And sometimes we add the Vermentino, which is also called Roll, in the blend. But the base is really Grenache, Shiraz, Cinsault, and then depending on the vintage, I select some varietals coming from different part of the vineyard, depending on the condition of the maturation and of the vintage.
In case you didn't catch that, the La Chapelle Gordon Rosé includes primarily Grenache, some Syrah, and typically Cinsault. Then, depending upon the year, weather-wise, he may add some Mourvèdre or Vermentino. That's a lot of varieties for a rosé. No wonder it's bursting with flavor. He's Vranken-Pommery winemaker Bruno Maillard. With those adjustments in wine varieties, I asked if he's trying to make the wine taste the same year to year with intention.
Yeah, the La Chapelle Gordon is now well known, especially in the U.S. It's possible to make vertical tasting because we keep 2,000 bottles of each vintage in a cellar to be able to offer those vertical tasting.
Yeah.
And the profile, I want to have this rich and flavored and well-balanced wine. And each year, the goal is to be better than the year before. So it's a huge work of selection in the vineyard. It's possible because we own the vineyard, so we work from the vine to the bottle, and such a quality can only be made by respecting all the details of the vine growing and winemaking.
Sure.
It's possible, once again, because we control all of this.
Yeah. Tell me, speaking of quality, what makes the wine a tête de cuvée?
Tête de cuvée comes from the Champagne area, because as you probably know, the Château Lagordon is owned by Mr. Vranken, which is also the owner and founder of Vranken-Pommery Champagne house.
Mm-hmm.
And we very often talk and exchange and inspire ourselves with colleagues from Champagne. And in Champagne, they use for a long time the selection of the first part of the juice that goes out of the press. So this tête de cuvée is the first juice coming out of the press. They have the best quality because the grapes are crushed with only a low pressure, and you extract only the best part of the berry, not the tannins, only the lightest element and the more delicate. And selecting those têtes de cuvée gives us the delicate and wine from La Chapelle.
First press and free-run juice is the cleanest, freshest wine with less tannins and makes for a higher quality wine, especially in whites and rosés. American winemakers also understand the level of quality of first press juice. Vranken-Pommery refer to it as tête de cuvée, the head of the blend. He's French winemaker Bruno Maillard. We were just talking about the La Chapelle Gordon Rosé he makes, and I was about to share my opinion of that bright rosé. You know, tasting the wine, I did get quite a burst of freshness and flavors, a nice offering of fruit, yet lifted with bright acidity, and it is nicely rounded, delicate, but also rich in ripe strawberry flavors.
Yeah, with those strawberry flavors come from the Grenache that gives this flavor, and all the rest is the complexity from the terroir, the varietal for sure, but also the terroir.
Mm-hmm.
The other fact is that we harvest the grapes at night, so you have this fresh fruit taste that is in the berry when we eat the berries to taste it and say, okay, we will harvest. During the night you have this fresh taste. If you eat the same berry in the afternoon when the temperature is really higher, you get a more marmalade taste, and the wine will not be so delicate. So we harvest at the right moment to have those flavors, and the wine reflects really the quality of the terroir with the vines on the shale that gives the acidity, the Grenache on the limestone and clay that gives a lot of flavor, and all this we have different hints of flavors and taste, and all this blends very well in Cuvée La Chapelle.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I'm a big fan of the Grenache variety. And I saw on your website you described that wine as also being flavors of wild strawberry sorbet, and with the chill of the wine, that's a perfect descriptor, I think.
Yeah, the wild strawberry is important. As I told you, the small wild strawberries have this fresh fruit and crispy taste that we have in the wine. I don't want to have the marmalade strawberry.
Right.
It will be too heavy. So the goal is when you finish your glass, you're still thirsty and want to have another one. So you have the pleasure of the tasting.
Yes, I think you've accomplished that.
It's a goal to accomplish it every year again, but we do it because of the good vineyard we have.
Yeah.
It's easier in Languedoc for sure.
Like they say, a good wine or a great wine is made in the vineyard.
Yeah.
Well, Provence is certainly synonymous with rosé, but let's talk about your Gris now. So we'll be heading west toward the Languedoc region and to the Sable de Camargue to learn about the Domaine Royal de Jarre 2019 Pink Flamingo Gris. And as I was doing my research, I see why the wine is called Pink Flamingo. The birds sure love to congregate there on the sands of the Camargue region.
Yeah, the name of the cuvée came naturally because all around the vineyard you have those salt lakes with pink flamingo that stay now all year long. So it's the iconic bird of Camargue is the pink flamingo, and the vine grow on the sand on dunes surrounded by salt lakes with pink flamingo. So it was naturally we gave naturally the name of the bird to the cuvée.
Yeah.
And it's really another unique place to grow vines, a unique terroir.
Yeah, certainly quite a bit different than Gardon. Huh?
Yeah, as you said, when I go from one terroir to the other, it's a 2.5-hour drive. The common elements are between the two terroirs are the fact that the vines are only less than 10 miles away from the Mediterranean Sea. The other common thing is that the know-how to grow the vines, we grow them organic, and make the wine in the cellar is common. So we use the same way to produce the wines. So it's the human part of terroir is the same, and the difference is the soil. As I said, in Provence it's limestone and clay and shale. In Camargue it's only sand. So Sable de Camargue means sand from Camargue, and you have only sandy soil, as if we are growing vines on a sand dune close to the beach.
Yeah, on the sand dunes, and that's where Sable comes from, huh? Sable de Camargue.
Yeah, Sable is sand.
Has that vineyard been established for quite a while, or is it not so old?
Yeah, we find elements written since the 12th century.
Okay.
When the monks settled in an abbey on the northern part of this terroir. And then King Louis IX created the town of Aigues-Mortes, the fortified town of Aigues-Mortes, and all around the city you have the vineyard. So it's an old vineyard that has always produced those gris wine, which is a shade of rosé wine in the family of the rosé wine, pale pink and salmon wine. Naturally, it's the natural color that comes from this terroir.
Right. Is the 2019 Gris Grenache Gris?
It's the Gris wine is based on Grenache, so both black Grenache and gray Grenache. The shade that is more salmon pink than really fresh pink. They stay salmon pink.
I'm sure the sand and the breezes from the sea sure play a key role in that finished product.
Yeah, they play a role in the balance of the wine. So the sand, as I told you, is make the wine not acid, but the breeze makes it fresh. Mm-hmm. So the wine the balance is not acid with this dry sensation in the mouth, but really fresh. You have a fresh taste coming from the breeze that cools the climate. You have the temperature in the summer is 5 degrees Celsius less in our vineyard than in the town that are in the land 30 kilometers inside the land. Mm-hmm. Because of this fresh air coming from the sea.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I agree totally with that, because when I enjoyed the 2019 Pink Flamingo Gris just recently, I did find it was beautifully balanced with all the flavors and the elements of the wine in harmony, creating a refreshing, easy-to-drink, chilled gray wine or salmon wine.
Yeah, I'm happy because it's really the goal to have a easy to drink and that you have pleasure wine. So with, once again, you have flavor and taste. It's not only a flavor on the nose, but also it's a tasty wine. Mm-hmm. And the goal is that you keep in mind, and after you finish your glass, have this pleasure of tasting, which is for me one of the most important words for a tasting. So pleasure, when you have pleasure during tasting, the result is there.
I definitely did too, and to enhance our tasting experience, my wife set up cheese, nuts, and even some dried nectarines on a platter, and we enjoyed the wines with that, and the nectarine paired perfectly with it. And just for fun, I tried the Gris up against pepper jelly on a cracker with cheese, and I wasn't too surprised at all that the wine held up real well with it, softening the pepper just enough, and so neither one of them outplayed the other.
It's a nice pairing, and I'm not so surprised because I know that the Pink Flamingo fits with all kind of dishes and of food, and it's one of the reasons of the success of the rosé category, and especially from our Pink Flamingo, the fact that you can pair it with a lot of meal, and men and women appreciate the wine. Each one has different taste or preference, but when you have a wine that pairs with all the food that you can have on the table, everyone can share it. So it's one of the reason, I think, for the reason of the success of the rosé category, as I told you.
Yes, and who doesn't like pink flamingos too? So you see that on the big red letters on the label. It's like it just captures your eye.
Yeah, marketing is done by the people in Champagne, so they know about it. I know about rosé winemaking, and the marketing is made by the head company, so they make the label and everything. So I'm sure it's okay with this.
Yeah. So which of the two regions we discussed do you enjoy working in the most? On the shale and clay of Provence and up in Gordon, or the sands of Carmargue?
It's a hard, or not a silly but hard question.
Right.
You ask me which one of my babies I prefer.
Exactly.
It's impossible to tell you. No, they are different for sure. Depending on the people I'm with or the food I pair it with. I prefer Chapelle Gordon or Pink Flamingo. They're really different. I'm lucky that I go every week in one place or in another, so I always change. And when I'm in Provence, I prefer the Provence, and when I'm in Camargue, I drink Pink Flamingo. So the best is to appreciate the wine in its terroir. And
you have the best of both worlds. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're lucky to be able to work in two wonderful places.
Yeah, and I'm happy that we can share the wines, those wines with the people in the U.S. And when I come to USA, it's always a pleasure to explain and talk about the wines with the people that really appreciate, and to share the passion, because it's really it's more than a job, it's a passion. So
right.
It's always a pleasure to share the passion for our terroir.
Well, it's nice you get to come over here too and talk about your craft. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, Bruno, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get back to your wine and dinner, and thanks again for chatting with me.
Thank you for the questions, and it was really a pleasure. So see you perhaps one day in the vineyard or in the USA.
Like I said, my friends don't live too far from you, so don't be surprised if I come knocking on your chateau.
Okay, you have my phone number. Do not hesitate to call me.
Great.
It'd be a pleasure.
Did you catch what he said at the end there? You have my number, so don't hesitate to call me. If I get back over there, I'll take him up on that offer. Bruno Maillard of Vranken-Pommery. We talked about Chateau Gordon La Chapelle Rosé and the Sable de Comar Pink Flamingo Gris. You might be able to find those locally or check out the internet. To see how those wines are spelled, visit my website. Thanks to Janet and Charlotte at IT Public Relations for setting up the interviews with Clément and Bruno. That brings this podcast to a close. You can find past interviews at onthewineroad.us. I'm on Facebook as On The Wine Road and Instagram and Twitter at JD Wine Road. Please subscribe to my podcast so you won't miss the interesting people I come across during my travels. Stay safe and do your best to maintain peace of mind. And enjoy your travels as much as I do on the wine road. I'm Jeff Davis.